Today, let's talk about something that's always with us, but we often overlook: awareness. Not the thoughts running through your mind or the emotions surging in your chest, but the simple, steady presence underneath it all. It's something so quiet, so unassuming, that we barely notice it. Yet it holds everything. It's always here, no matter what's happening. Before we dive in, I want to invite you to try something with me. You don't need to move or do anything special. Just sit as you are. If it feels comfortable, close your eyes for a moment. Notice how, as your eyes close, the world begins to soften. The sights, the shapes, the busyness, they all fade. At first, it might feel like stepping into darkness, like the edges of the world have disappeared. But stay with it. Is it really dark? Or is there something quietly alive in this stillness? This is what we often miss in the rush of life. We get so caught up in what we see, think, and feel that we forget to notice the awareness in which it all happens. It's like being so focused on the waves that we forget the ocean beneath them. Awareness is like that ocean. Vast, still, unshaken by the movements on its surface. What do you feel in this space? It's not empty, is it? There's a presence here, a knowing, a simple sense of, I am. You don't have to create it. You don't have to hold on to it. It's already here, steady and unchanging. This presence doesn't need you to do anything. It's not loud or demanding. It doesn't ask for your attention. But it's always there, watching, holding everything just as it is. Let's stay with this for a moment. You might notice thoughts popping in, trying to pull you away. That's okay. That's what minds do. Thoughts are like clouds drifting across the sky. They come and go, but they don't change the sky itself. The sky remains open and vast, no matter how many clouds pass through. In the same way, awareness remains steady, no matter how many thoughts or feelings move through it. Can you feel that steadiness? What's so surprising about this presence is how familiar it feels. It's been with us all along, from our earliest memories to this very moment. It was there when we were children, playing without a care. It's here now as we talk about it together, and it will be here tomorrow no matter what unfolds. This presence doesn't change, even though everything around it does. Isn't that remarkable? Now open your eyes if they've been closed. Notice how the world comes back into focus, the sights, the sounds, the sensations. But has the presence disappeared? Or is it still here, holding everything? This awareness doesn't belong to the outside world, and it doesn't belong to you in the personal sense. It's not something you can own or lose. It's simply the ground of all experience, always here, whether you notice it or not. But here's where things get tricky. The mind doesn't always like stillness. It's used to chasing, fixing, and solving. When we sit quietly, the mind might scramble to fill the space. Thoughts about the past, plans for the future, questions about what's happening. That's okay. Let's not fight it. Let the thoughts come and go, like ripples on a pond. Beneath the ripples, the water remains still. Awareness is like that water, unchanging, no matter how much activity dances on its surface. Think about your breath for a moment. Feel its rhythm, the gentle rise and fall, the pause between the inhale and the exhale. That pause is like a doorway into stillness. In that brief space, there's nothing to do, nothing to figure out. There's just being. Can you feel it, that effortless sense of openness, of quiet? That's the presence we're talking about. It's not something you need to create. It's already here. This is where we often make meditation harder than it needs to be. Meditation isn't about silencing the mind or achieving some special state. It's not about escaping life. It's about being with life exactly as it is. It's about noticing that beneath the noise and movement, there's a quiet, steady presence. And that presence isn't something separate from us. It's what we are. But why does this matter? Why is it worth talking about awareness? Because so much of our suffering comes from forgetting it. We get caught up in the stories our minds tell, in the identities we cling to, in the constant push and pull of life. We lose touch with the simple fact that beneath all of it, there's a steady presence that holds everything without judgment, without resistance. When we remember this presence, something shifts. Life doesn't stop being messy or complicated, but we stop being lost in it. We find a space to rest, even in the middle of the storm. Let's be honest, life can feel overwhelming. There's so much to do, so much to fix, so much we think we need to become. But awareness doesn't ask anything of us. It doesn't care if we're busy or still, happy or sad, successful or struggling. It just is. And the more we rest in it, the more we realize how free we are. We're not the thoughts, the emotions, the roles we play. We're the presence in which all of that comes and goes. And that presence is always whole, always complete, no matter what's happening on the surface. This isn't about escaping the world. It's about seeing the world clearly from the quiet presence that holds it all. And when we live from that presence, something extraordinary happens. We stop trying to fix or control everything. We start moving with life instead of against it. And in that movement, we find a peace that isn't dependent on circumstances. It's a peace that's always been here, waiting for us to notice it. So let's notice. Let's come home to the presence we've been all along. There's a profound significance to practicing this, to resting in awareness even in the midst of life's experiences. When we recognize awareness as the ground of everything, as the steady presence holding all thoughts, emotions, and sensations, we create space between ourselves and the experiences we're caught up in. This space is transformative. It allows us to step out of the constant identification with our thoughts and emotions, which so often reinforce the sense of being a separate self, an ego struggling against the world. Instead of seeing ourselves as the person who is angry, anxious, or overwhelmed, we begin to see these as experiences happening within awareness, not as defining who we are. And in this shift, we break free from the grip of the ego. We stop fueling the sense of separation that makes life feel so heavy. Practicing awareness lets us move through life with openness and clarity, unburdened by the stories we attach to every experience. It's not an escape from life, it's a way of living fully, without the weight of identification, without the illusion of being apart from the whole. So, the next time you feel overwhelmed, try this. Pause. Take a breath. Close your eyes if it feels right. And notice what's here. Not the thoughts or the feelings, but the awareness holding it all. Let yourself rest in that even for a moment. And when you open your eyes and step back into the flow of life, remember that this presence doesn't go anywhere. It's always here, steady and unchanged, no matter what comes your way.